Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, spring is here and it's March, and it wouldn't be March without some Matchbox now, would it? Matchbox March returns yet again. Although I do wonder if one year there'll be no more Matchbox March, because some of you will have built all the models. But anyway, wasn't getting into my grievances about that. But I thought we'd just revisit a few Matchbox kits. I'm probably going to do 2, maybe 3 shows, I don't know, about Matchbox March this year. And the last show I think I'll do will be just a personal sort of top 5, top 10. Anyway, my favourite Matchbox kits of all time. It's not an exclusive list, exhaustive list, because I haven't had every kit, so it's very difficult, but I have got a lot of them. As many of you know, I've got about 150, and the vast majority of the ones I've got are really mint, so they're all in mint boxes and what have you. So it's not so much a stash, it's a collection, which is why it's perfectly legitimate to have that. Yeah. Anyway, I've got the Stuka here, which is one that perhaps we can have another look at. I'm just going to have some fun and look at a couple of Matchbox kits on camera so that you can enjoy them as well. But first, we are going to do a review of a kit that I haven't actually seen before. So I'm just going to put the Stuka aside for a second, because we have seen that one in the past. What you won't have seen before, though, is... Oh, I haven't anyway. I'm speaking like everybody's the same as me, but you're not. Some of you will have built this, I bet. And it's actually one of the later ones, of course. I think it's from the Macau generation. We'll look at that in a minute. So it'll be late 80s, mid-late 80s. Maybe even early 90s, and it's the Bell OH-58D Aero Scout, which is basically like a reconnaissance chopper, if you will, for the US Army. Based on the Bell Jet Ranger helicopter, of course, famous for, well, very ubiquitous in the 70s, 80s and 90s. Famous in The Spy Who Loved Me, James Bond film, chasing Bond in his Lotus Esprit, all that stuff. So yeah, very well known sort of machine. But this is, I say, one I've not seen before, so I thought we'd have a look at it. It says here it comes with a free tube of glue is included with this kit. Now I must say straight away, this is not my kit. This has been very kindly loaned to the channel by our good friend David Mummery, and in fact he bought this kit at the Nantwich Universal Model Show just a few weeks ago. So it's hot off the press, you might say. So let's have a closer look anyway. We'll have a look at this, and then we'll have a look at 1 or 2 others, and then we'll just talk about Matchbox generally and have a bit of fun really, and just a bit of nostalgia to wallow in. So on this one we've got, it's a purple range, and it's actually PK43. Oh, it's got the price on the side, £10. I've got a feeling you might have got it even less than that, but anyway, it's a very good price, I've got to say. So it has got 2 colours, which are particularly good colours, I think, on this one. I haven't actually opened the box yet. But if the colours are the same as they are depicted in the artwork, then they're spot on, aren't they? Grey and the sort of dirty, sort of khaki, olive green sort of colour. And it looks pretty impressive, if I'm honest. So it's one that sort of passed me by. On the other side, let's just see if we can get a date on this. Is it going to tell us a date? 1989, it says. So I'm right, this is the Macau generation. Has it got any Chinese writing on the back? It does have at the bottom, this gives it away every time. It's not all written in Chinese as it is sometimes, it's got the Chinese writing there. So this is a product of the Macau, what do they call it, Universal Products that they call themselves at the time. Trading as Matchbox, you know. Anyway, it's got here a nice side view of the chopper. Complete with this, looks like it's a radar and camera pod that sits on top of the rotors of all places. It's amazing, isn't it, when you see it like that? I'm sure it'll tell us a bit more inside. And it's warning you about the deadly glue. Trichloroethane, it says the glue is there. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Don't think this will be in very good condition, given that it is, what, 36 years old, this glue, but anyway. So it says it's a Bell OH-58D Aero Scout, United States Army, 1987. Doesn't tell you where, unfortunately. It's in 3 languages, and that's it. And of course, this is the generation where they didn't show you the other kits on the side. That's just it, really. So anyway, without further ado, let us have a little nosy at this, because I say this will be quite good fun for me, because I haven't seen it before. And actually David said, have you got this one? Do you want to review it? I said, I've never seen it before, so yeah, absolutely cool. It just goes to show that they did introduce 1 or 2 kits after. So, quick history lesson for those of you that don't know. The Matchbox company was set up in the late 50s, mid-late 50s. It was known as, the actual company was known as Leslie Limited. Lesney, L-E-S-N-E-Y, get it right. And basically, there was basically 2 guys. I won't give you a complete history because it's just too long. But basically, they set up in the 50s and they started doing toy cars, basically. And then they moved into kits and other sorts of toys in the sort of late 60s, early 70s. And the Matchbox kit started in 1972, as we know them. They arrived on the market. I'm not sure if they physically arrived at Christmas or certainly early 73, New Year 73. Some of them did, I think, get in time for Christmas. But I think I saw them first at sort of Christmas, New Year 72, 73. And the characteristic of them that makes them unique, of course, is they have, the multicolours. So just looking at the Stuka, because I'll give you a history lesson here, it's relevant. You can see on the Stuka there, you've got, this is an orange range kit, as you can see on the panel. So this one comes with 3 colours, 3-colour kit. And sometimes these colours were more appropriate than others, which is what I was just alluding to. I'm not sure this one works particularly well. I mean, if they had the underside of the wings in that pale blue, that would be brilliant, but I'm not sure about the rest. Anyway, so this was a unique character at the time. I think Frog dabbled in coloured plastics, but I don't think they had multiple colours within the same box at the time anyway. So they usually gave you at least 2, sometimes 3 schemes. It's usually 2 on the smaller kits, purple, orange, and then on the red range kits and others they'd give you up to 3 schemes. And you got a lot of value in this. Is for those of you that don't know, if you're perhaps too young to remember these, Airfix at the time were not going through a very good period, in my opinion. They were, not always, but quite a lot of their kits were very, very flashy, and there was a lot of short shots, malformed. The instructions were a bit vague sometimes. They weren't terrible, and they were a bit variable, and it depends where what the kit was really, but a lot of them disappointed, we've got to be frank. When these came out, these were very, very simple to build. They had no flash, they went together, the fit was fantastic, to be honest, on nearly all of them. They came in the colours which some of the purists amongst us, especially now we're older, probably think, ugh. But when you are 7 or 8, as I was, and you didn't have to paint them, and having paints when you're very young can be a bit problematic. Your parents probably don't want you to be dabbling in these chemicals which aren't very healthy. Spill them on the carpet, spill them on the dog or whatever. Not ideal, So I think that, sorry, I'm just going to switch my phone off, it's making some bleepy noise in the background. I think that you can understand that this had a lot of appeal, especially it was aimed at bridging the gap and getting modelers who were not so skilled perhaps to build them, and also it had a fraction of a toy-like appearance because of the coloured plastic. Now that didn't matter, because if you painted it, and that became not an issue for anybody. But it did appeal to a younger audience, and I think it brought a lot of kids. As I say, I was 7, and there was sort of 5 to 10 year olds. I think it brought a lot of kids into the hobby that wouldn't have otherwise made the jump. They thought that modelling was a bit hard and difficult and a bit messy and glue and paints, and this eliminated the paint element of the story, and this is why they were very successful. And within about 18 months to 2 years, these guys were just dumping all over Airfix and others. Revell Revell were an American company at that time, and they became, I don't know the exact figures, I won't go as far as to say they became the market leader, but they were very strong in the market within a couple of years. So by the time you got to sort of 75, 76, they were really a force to be reckoned with, and they had the brilliant artwork. This is actually a Doug Post artwork, not Roy Cross. Just zoom in on this one, just to show that they did have other artists as well as Roy, who sadly passed away recently. So that's a Doug Post artwork, who tended to do a lot of the armour type arts, box arts. And the box art was absolutely phenomenal, and frankly, again, gave Roy Cross, who was a brilliant artist, don't get me wrong, a lovely, lovely guy, a genius. But there was this colour and drama with Matchbox, and when you are under 15, shall we say, perhaps a bit below being a teenager, it had a lot of appeal. They sold like hot cakes. These things were really popular. You know, I mean, I had, this is the reason I've gone back and gone for this collection, because it brings back happy memories of my childhood. And every one of them, I always say this, and I'm really not joking. Every time I pick up one of these, I can remember a place and a time in my life accurately, because it just places, it's almost like a timestamp in my life, almost like a photograph. You know, there'd be me, well, for example, this one was one I did when we were in a caravan, the caravan holiday for a month, would you believe? Because we were in the process of moving house, or so we thought. It didn't happen until later. But this one, and the Corsair, and what was the other one? The Beaufighter as well. So there's 3 orange range I can name that were all taken during the same period from me, and I actually built them, you know. Anyway, digressing. But so this is what happened, and they then sort of expanded. They became more and more successful, and it wasn't when they eventually went bust after 10 years of Matchbox kits in 1982. Matchbox didn't go bust, and this is a popular misconception. There's 2 big stories in the modelling industry that people always get wrong. They always say Wing Nut Wings went bust, and they say Matchbox went bust. Neither of those companies actually went bust. They did not go out of business because of business failure. Matchbox did, but not because of the kit side. The Lesney side, the toy cars, just stopped selling, and that took down Matchbox kits. And it wasn't Matchbox kits was being incredibly successful at that time in 1981-82. It was still doing brilliantly, and it was all their other stuff which most of the business relied upon, and its finance relied upon. All the toy cars, kids discovered computer games, and you know, the volume of the business was that market. And unfortunately, Matchbox kits went down through no fault of its own, and not associated with its own sales at all. So that's the first facet, and we're digressing there. But Wing Nut Wings, people say Wing Nut Wings went bust. No, they just stopped trading. They didn't actually go bust. They didn't become insolvent. They just literally stopped trading. Okay, for reasons that are legend and myth, and we won't get into that. That's another story for another day. But it's just to let you know that Matchbox was an incredibly successful. The kits was an incredibly successful side of their business, and it's such a shame that they weren't able to continue into the future and develop. And you know, there was something almost Tamiya-like about them. They weren't detailed like Tamiya kits, but they might have evolved into something more like that in the future had they been able to carry on. Anyway, we're digressing. Let's get back to this Aero Scout. Let's see, David Mummery's kit. I'm going to be as careful as I can, because we all know that if I pick up it's got some bubble wrap. If I pick up your kit, and this is probably what he did, he probably thought, probably time I gave Peter another kit to review, but I don't want to risk a good one. You know, well, actually, he has. I've got the Zokimura Phantom to come in the near future, but this is a safe one. If he breaks it, it's fine. You know, it's not good. It only cost me a tenner. Have we got any glue? I've got a feeling there won't be any glue in this. It's probably not safe to have that glue anymore. Or have we? Well, we've got some decals. Matchbox decals are the one thing that do not age well, I'm afraid. Ever. No, there's no glue, which is a blessing. Right, let's have a look then. I think it's good that they wrapped it in the bubble wrap. It's quite sensible. So let us see what we have got. First of all, with our instructions. Now, one thing that you knew that they were in trouble when they started, and this happened again about 1980 onwards, when they started changing from having a purple instruction book or an orange or a red, and they all sort of start becoming black and white. You knew that they were trying to save money, thanks to their parent company being in such trouble, of course. But anyway, so here, you always get a nice bit of history, and this is why, you know, I praise people like ICM and Tamiya and Airfix, who all do this really well, and even Meng do it well, don't they? And then I get very cross when people can't be bothered. It's only a couple of lines of print. I don't think it's too much to ask. So they actually say, I'll zoom you back for this. It actually says then, and you might have to forgive me for this, because I have to say the printing in this is small. When I was 7 it was no problem, but now it's a bit of a difficulty, so would you excuse me a moment? I'll just get the big ultra zoomy dual standard glasses. Oh, that's better. Based on the original Model 206 Jet Ranger, the OH-58A Kiowa military version first flew in 1966. Oh, wow. Incredible, really. Production machinery were delivered to the US in 1969. Excuse me. By 1982, Bell initiated a conversion design study at updating the helicopter in conjunction with the US Army's improvement program. And this resulted in the AH-58D Aero Scout. Are you there? I can't see. Damn, honestly, beyond the range of this piece of paper, everything's just a blur. I think the camera's still there. Is it still on? Oh, yes, I can see now. Anyway, it goes on to say, the Aero Scout incorporated a 4-blade rotor, more power... Why did it have 3-blade before? Didn't know that. More powerful engine, a mast-mounted observation and designation site, and improved navigation and communications equipment. The first one was delivered in November 1985, so it took them quite a while to get it out, actually, didn't it, really? There we go. So, now we get back to the normal glasses commands now. I think so. Gosh. Just shows I'm getting old, I think. Let's zoom you in. So what you get is your traditional Matchbox instructions, where they've got the paint guide. I say it should really be in purple, but they dropped it by this stage to save on the purple ink. And then you've got your small part painting guide, which is all these bits here. I don't know if we get any crew in this one. Do we get crew? I don't think we do. No, we don't. Just seats. So you can see another cost-cutting measure there. Very much like we get today. Anyway, on the back we have got our decals guide, decaling guide, and it says H. What's H? H is silver. Okay, so that's I'm just looking at the camera observation equipment. But yeah, very nicely done, you know. So on the inside we have got. Now again, with the later Matchbox kits, something else they made different was that they used to have everything landscape, which actually didn't work. If I'm fair, that's probably wasn't the best solution, really. Although you'll see that with the others, and it would go along and then down and along. Whereas this actually goes down. This is more like the Airfix of the 70s, 60s, 70s. It kind of does work, especially in this format, the way that they've done it. Anyway, it's just a slight difference you'll notice among some of the Matchbox kits. How it varied later on. So we start off by building up your cockpit area, and there's a decal here for the instrument panel. And then you've got your main control stick, and your 2 seats, and then you've got your rotors, and they go into the rotor mount. You've got a canopy going on the front. And you've got the main rotor drive, which looks quite good actually. It's quite detailed, isn't it? Bearing in mind we're talking about a kit that would have been, even when it came out, this would have only been about £1, I think, in '89, or maybe £1.30, something like that. £1 more than when they first came out, but anyway. And then we've got the main. Sorry, I said that was the canopy. I'm wrong. That was a mistake. Sorry, that was the top of the instrument combing. Here's the canopy coming in, and the nose, it's all like in one big piece, which is quite a good solution. That's almost like a modern one, isn't it? Like a Tamiya or perhaps an Airfix, where they have this extra piece, so you can just mask it off to get avoiding a nasty seam and getting glue on your canopy. That's interesting, isn't it? That's quite far-sighted of them there. We'll have a look at that part in a minute. I like that. That's a very modern take on for 1989. And then you've got your top plate over the covers over the engine, and then you've got a load of antenna aerials here for communications equipment, and then it's all the other stuff. So you've got your doors going on with the windows, and then the side windows. You've got your horizontal stabilizer and your tailplane and tail rotor, and then you've got your observation equipment pod that sits on the top here. It looks quite a nice kit, that, isn't it? Obviously it has the cameras, have the 2 camera lenses in it there. Well, I'm quite taken with that. That's quite impressive. That's it, really. That's your helicopter built. So there's not a lot to it. Typical Matchbox, nice, sensible, low part count. Build these in a weekend, no problem at all. Complete doddle, really, you know. And this is why, like on the Flory forum, they have the turkey shoot build, which is the one at November, which basically invite people to build a kit in a weekend. And Matchbox are perfect for that. What am I saying? That is another pagan festival like Matchbox March. Well, it's worse because you do it against the clock. How dare you all build these kits? They're precious Matchbox. They're very collectible. They're very, very rare and special. Every time you build another one of these, another little angel dies. You won't go to heaven if you keep doing that. Anyway, let's rant over. Okay. Let's have a look at what we've got. But the point being that they are quick and easy to build, you know. Now they've got this rather strange coloured plastic, which is kind of, yeah, it is a bit odd actually. It's not quite the colour I thought it was, because they depicted it as grey, or maybe it's just the printing. It looked like it was grey, and it's not. It's this kind of weird green. It's not out of character for the sort of subject matter, I suppose, but it's not too sure I like it. I think grey might have been better. Let's have a look here. So, instrument panel here. And then we've got our two sticks here, pilot and co-pilot. Obviously here is your observation pod with the cameras in it. And you've got just to the right there is the tail rotor. So yeah, see, they're facing the wrong way. Anyway, and then over here we have got our, if we can get some focus, thank you very much. We've got our rotor blades for the actual rotors, main rotors themselves. And we've got the pilot seats, co-pilot. And then rather nicely done this, I think. They've got the skids as one piece, which I think is great actually, for the actual landing skids. I think that's a very good idea. Yes, because that could be tricky on a small thing like this. So making it one piece is a really, really good bit of design. So it's not lacking in its design flair, is it, to be fair? I mean, a lot of these kits were intended to be produced, there's a whole generation of them that were going to be produced by Lesney, and then they just got shelved because they didn't have the money in '82, and then they came out much later. So I don't think a huge amount of investment came in from the Macau operation for new designs. I think it was things that were already planned by Lesney. Anyway, let's get on to the main chopper. And we have got some focus, thank you very much. We've got the port side of the main fuselage, which looks really nice. Got lots of details there, the little vents on the side and panels, panel line detail is actually really good. This would make a nice weekend build actually, it really would. A mojo build, yeah. There's your doors on the outside of the doors. You've got your top plate that goes over underneath the rotor and above the engine there. Obviously on the other side we then have the opposite starboard side main fuselage. I think the panel lines are, especially around the door, it's perhaps a bit OTT. I think they're a bit trench-like, which we always complain about. If we're being really critical of Matchbox, that is a bit trenchy. That's a bit out of scale. I think you can probably tell that. It's a bit overdone, isn't it? It's probably double the thickness it should be, but anyway. But other than that, they've done it nicely. They've got some finer detail, which looks great. And then you've got your tail, the tail plane here. Vertical stabiliser. Your two horizontal stabilisers, just where my fingers are here. And then you've got your internal parts of the cockpit there. And then there's the doors, and that's pretty much your chopper, apart from the clear parts. Now then, I have got to say, is there some optional parts there? I just want to check this, because I have a feeling you might not use all the parts that are listed. No, I'm wrong. Okay, so what it is, it wouldn't be like Matchbox, they don't do extra parts. Here is the chin. So that's like the chin underneath the actual nose. And then, very, very, as I say, very, very Tamiya or Airfix-like in the modern era, they've got this nice windscreen with the nose section attached underneath, so you don't have to glue it in at a join where you might fog the actual glass. So this will be masked off, and this will, where my finger is now, that'll be painted in the camo colour, you know, the sort of khaki colour. So that's really good. That's like a modern kit. I really like that. That surprised me in a really good way. I wouldn't have expected that in that era. And then you've got basically your windows for the sides, and that's it. Ultimately then we've got the decals. I'm not going to pull it all off, but you can see that we've got these the instruments. They probably still work, and they're not too big or anything, so there's probably no reason you couldn't use these, in truth. I think you'd be fine. I won't take them off because it's David's, you know. He might decide to collect it rather than build it. But knowing him, and with it being one of the more modern ones, so the concept that you might build it, this particular one will not quite such sacrilege. God forgive him. Burn in hell for this. Or as he always says to me now, you burn in Hull. I don't know what it's got against Hull, but anyway. But it's a later kit, so it's not one of the very collectible early ones anyway. But it's a nice kit. I'm actually quite surprised how good that is, because I was thinking, I'm not sure about this really, you know. I'm a bit of an old fogey stick in the mud, you know. I like my traditional Matchbox, and this was not the finest era. We saw that Victor that they produced, which was, if we're honest, was a bit of a mess, because it had this horrible raised panel liner. Ooh. Yes, that was not a victory for them, for the Macau Universal Products iteration of Matchbox. But that is a lovely little kit. I am surprised how good that is. And I think, you know, I can't remember if he actually paid 10 or paid 8 for it, but it's a smashing kit. So, what will I give that? Even in period, it'll certainly be about £1.30, under £1.50. I think I'm going to give it. Is there anything I didn't like about it? Well, yeah, there was the. I'm not sure about the colours of the plastic. I think they sometimes have the concept right, and then when you actually open the box, it's not the same colours. I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10, which I think is a good score for that. Much higher than I thought it would get. I thought it'd be up, maybe get a 9, but I think 9.5, maybe even 9.75. It's a nice kit. It's a nice little kit, and it's not too big. It'll go in your cupboard, no problem at all. Anyway, there we go. So there's a review of a kit I have never seen before. One of the later iterations from Matchbox. Why don't we have a look at the Stuka? We have seen it before. Some of you, I thought we'd just have a nice nosy at this because it's another nice example. And what I'm going to do is just pull out one or two others from the purple range in this episode. Pull out a couple from the purple range. Ones that I haven't talked about so much before and haven't had stacked up before. Try and pick out a couple that we haven't talked about as much. So let's have a look at our Stuka. So this is, as I say, it's Doug Post. Lovely artwork, attacking the Russian Soviet T-34s in Operation Barbarossa. The Russian front, October 1943. So let's have a look at the back. This is when they still did this advertising their other kits on the side, which I thought was great. Because it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You know, you've suddenly got this captive audience. Your company's really taking off. You just keep promoting your products, and that's what they were doing, and they did it well. Now, the only one I haven't had is the Swordfish. If anybody's got the Matchbox Swordfish and they want me to review it, send it along. Just drop me a line. I built 2 of those, and I haven't built this one, but I've got it now. You'll have seen a review fairly recently. I haven't done the Swordfish though, and it's attacking the Italian battleships at Taranto, I think, in that picture. Or is it the Channel Dash? No, I think it's the Italian battleships, Taranto. I think I remember seeing it in the shop with the artwork describing it all. And on the back of here, obviously we've got the window type box. We've got our Russian scheme, Operation Barbarossa, and then there's another one for the winter version. So that's summer in Russia and winter. 43-44, which is when things start to go rather badly for the Germans. But anyway, so let's have a look at what we have in this box. Let's have a nice looky. I'll zoom you back and you can see it properly. I do like this kit. I love the artwork, and it's got a few options on it. I think you can have you've got an option on the bombs and things, and the cannons. Yeah, one's got the cannon pods, gondolas, and the other one hasn't. So it's nice that they were doing that at this level, at this sort of price range at that time. Now here's your blue plastic. We'll come to that in a second. Blue, we've got black, we've got cream. unusual combo. I think the green would be alright if it wasn't Kermit green, but anyway, we'll come back to that. Oh look, we've got the ubiquitous Matchbox stand. We'll talk about that as well. Let us have a look what they say though. Now you see what I mean? This is the traditional way it was done at the beginning when they were at their peak. It's the orange range, so you get an orange there goes the decals. Orange instruction book. So yes. And actually those decals look in very good condition. I think they might be okay. So it basically says here, it also gives you, by the way, the actual data about the aircraft if you look. See that? That's good, isn't it? So we've got span, length, UMO engines, maximum speed, 256 miles an hour. Quotes everything in miles per hour, which was the pre-decimalisation, of course, when this came out. So that's quite cool. And then the armament with your machine guns, or the 7.9 machine guns on a flexible mounting gondola, I mean, underneath the wing. Anyway, it says, and the printing here is slightly bigger, so I can just about manage it. Original design work for the Ju-87 series began in 1933, and the prototype flew with a Rolls-Royce Kestrel engine. Whoopsie poopsie, we've done it again, haven't we? There's a lot of this going on in the 30s, 40s and 50s. We let our technology get used by other people, but anyway. That flew in 1935. Production versions were delivered in early 1937 and were used in Spain to test dive bombing techniques, and the aircraft gained an awesome reputation against Poland and in France at the start of World War II. In the spring of 1940, a more refined version was to use the UMO 211 J1 engine, offering 1400 brake horsepower. And these began to replace the early machines in the late spring of 1941. What it forgets to mention though, what it doesn't mention though, is that was rushed through because they were getting chewed to pieces in the Battle of Britain. You know, they terrorised Spain and of course Poland and France, and then as soon as they arrived at the English coast, they came up against Spitfires and Hurricanes operating on home soil without a full fuel load in many cases, half fueled. So they were super, it's almost like Spitfire was on steroids, and they were the opposite. They were heavy because they had to travel further and they weren't fast enough to start with. So you've got these RAF fighter command aircraft cutting state of the art for the time, with low fuel loads on, absolutely max performance, and these things are lolloping around the sky. And as you know from the Battle of Britain movie, which really tells it like it was, they attacked places like Ventnor on the Isle of Wight to wipe out the radar sites, and they did some damage, sure, but they got just mauled to pieces on the way back, you know. And I think I read that they started in May, June with the Stukas, and by the end of August they just stopped using them completely. It only lasted a month or two, and they just stopped using them because they just weren't coming back, you know. They would send out a squadron, and they'd be lucky to get one or two of them return. So they were outclassed completely, outdated, you know. And this is what they did. They sent them to the Eastern Front, and they decided to launch Barbarossa because they were up against more outdated aircraft there at that time, at the beginning, 1941. With their uprated engine, they performed quite well, which is why the artwork shows it on the Eastern Front. I digress. So it says, in 1942 it was found that the bombs are not effective against tanks. A modified version was produced from the D5. This was fitted with the 2 37mm cannon pods under each wing, and the wings were increased in span slightly. Oh, okay. Yeah, because it needs the extra lift because of the weight. And this was used with great success on the Eastern Front. Ju-87 variants were in service throughout the war, and the aircraft was one of the best known and feared machines of the Luftwaffe. Well, yes and no. You know, towards I think 1944, I'm not sure they're even in service much anymore. It says 44 on there. By then, even the Russian aircraft Soviet aircraft were really much more advanced. Excuse me. And they were getting shot to bits. So anyway, let's have a look at this. We'll be brief on this one, I think, because we have seen it once before. So, usual thing. colour guide here. Sorry, just excuse me, I'm just going to have some water because I'm just spluttering a bit here. I'm not ill, it's just changing the weather's caught me out, I think. I'm actually not ill for once, which is good. It's just a bit dry. It's a little bit of pollen starting to appear. I think that's causing some of the problem. Anyway, on the back, I should have explained, on the reverse you've got your small part colour guide, painting your wheels and tyres, seats, the pilot, propeller, spinner, exhausts, radiator intake, and your bomb rack, your swinging bomb cradle. Yeah, cradle, not rack. The bomb itself, and then you get your tail wheel, and then some of the interior parts of the cockpit, and then you get your standard Matchbox advert for their brilliant, frankly, stand. And just telling you about a few of the kits that are in the range. So, where was I? So it starts off with the pilot and the gunner, the rear gunner, and then we move on to bringing them into the fuselage, fitting your radiator, then you're on to your propeller and spinner. You've got your cockpit, which probably needs a bit of masking. It's a bit tricky on this one because it's a right glass house, isn't it? Especially at this scale. Just need a bit more for this. Oops. There we go. Bringing in your exhaust as well, and then you start. This is where it's a bit weird because it goes along and then you have to stop. No. Section 4, then it jumps to section 8, so you've got to go section 5 down here. It is a bit odd. wasn't the best bit of Matchbox kits, the instructions actually, but they're easy enough to follow. And you've got your elevator and your rudder going on there. You've got your spats that form around the non-retracting undercarriage legs. You've got your dive. It has flaps, dive flaps on the back of the wing, ailerons and dive flaps. So the dive flaps are these sort of cranked ones, and of course they used to have this screeching squeal, which we'll talk about in a minute. When they used to dive, it had like a little noise generator, like a little, driven by a little propeller, a siren basically. Here you've got a couple of, looks like it's lights. Is it lights? Is that for? No, they want you to pop out. I think they want you to drill it out. It's not very clear there. Here in the middle, I think they want you to drill out those openings because you're going to fit your gondolas underneath, and then you got your wings going on there, obviously with your flaps and slats. Flaps, not slats. Did they have slats on the front? No, they didn't, did they? No, it's just dive flaps. That's all. And then over here we got the options for putting on the different weapons. So you've got either a little rack for 2 mini bombs on either side. I mean, they're not very big, are they? I can't believe that would take a tank out. But anyway, and then you've got the other option for these truly tank can-opening cannon gondolas underneath, 37mm. And then here, if you look very closely, if I just zoom you in a bit more, all the way, then you can see what I was talking about here. Just where it shows the knife cutting. These are these little sirens that are on the front of the leg of the wheel, main gear, which just generates this squealing, screeching, wailing, terrifying sound when they dive, and as part of the character of the aircraft, and instills great fear into all those it's attacking. And then finally there's your gondola underneath with your cannon in it. Rather good, isn't it? I mean, it's everything's there, isn't it? You know, there's no doubt that you are you're building a Stuka, or as the rather frightened RAF orderly said in the Battle Brick movie, Stukas, Stukas. I was stuck with me that. I think it's quite funny. Anyway, let's have a look at what we've got here. So we've got our decals, and they're actually in reasonable condition for once. Yes, I did say that most of mine were meat. I think this is one of the good ones I got. If you look carefully here, you can see. Oh, yeah, we actually get the Nazi emblem as well, which I think is correct, and a scale model that's historical. No need to endorse or celebrate it, but it should be there, and I'm sure that most people agree. And this is in the days when nobody worried about it. It didn't seem relevant. So these people that want to revise history and start erasing bits of it out that they don't like, not forgetting basically that later generations won't know they've erased it out and will wonder what the problem was. The best thing you can do with evil is to make sure everybody knows about it. Anyway, there we go. So those are there. Then we have got the unforgettable, ubiquitous Matchbox stand, which is absolutely fantastic. So you've obviously got, it all works really well, this does. You can see Leslie Product and Company Limited is the name of the parent company. This is the one that got into trouble. That did all the Matchbox cars. And then you've got the main arm, complete with the ball on top, and then the cup, which enables it to pivot, of course, and you can have it banking, you can have it climbing, diving, pitching over, whatever you like. A really effective piece of design. And in fairness, Frog came out with something very similar at about the same time. So I don't know who got the idea from who, but perhaps anybody knows in the chat, let me know. But certainly that is one of the best stand designs we've ever seen in model kits, I think, especially in a very cut price pocket money kit. It doesn't get any better than that. And this particular one is in excellent condition, as you can see as well. So that's very, very nice. Now let's get into the other plastic. So we'll have a look at talking of clear parts, we'll have a look at the actual canopy cockpit. Let's get a bit closer. Yep, here we go. Now it's not, by modern standards of course, it's not the clearest, almost distortion free. I mean, it's of its era, this, and most kits around this time were very similar to this. You would only get, I mean, some of them wouldn't even have such good framing of the canopy, in fairness. So it's nice that it's actually, for its time. What was this one? Was it 1976? Let's just check this. 74. That's earlier than I thought. So 1974. So this is, yeah, it's 51 years old. I think that's pretty nice for 51-year-old production. No problem there. And then we get into Kermit the Frog. Look at this. Kermit Green. Oh, geez. Almost hurts my eyes to look at it. But it's nice, it's I think the panel lines are a bit big and a bit shallow, but again, it's of its time, Some of the detailing like on the legs here is quite nice, in fairness. You've got two pilots, you've got a nice propeller, and they've actually put very sensible location of the sprue gate contact points there, much better than some manufacturers do even today. And then over on this side, of course, we've got the other side of the Kermit Green. Here's the main port side of the fuselage. Got your spinner here. It doesn't come out particularly well on the camera, I don't think, this colour, but it doesn't do your eyes any favours either. A strange choice. A darker green would have been better, I think, but anyway. So that's that one. And then we have got our rather nice sort of Luftwaffe, what do they call it? Sky blue, isn't it? I think it's sky blue. Which looks about right, actually. It's not far off the Luftwaffe colour, I think, to my eye. And then you've got your tailplanes, you've got your horizontal stabilisers, these are the wingtips. Which, if you think about it, it's a bit strange that you have the sky blue on top. This is where they've gone wrong here, I think. What they should have done is split it, and they should have had. This should have been blue. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, because that's the top wing. And they should have split them onto two different sprues and then green on the top and blue underneath. Then it would have worked better. However, I suppose it's production costs, And here you've got your these interesting dive flaps. So look at the other side. You can see the dive flaps there. And the ailerons at the end. Quite an agricultural looking machine, isn't it, really? It's got these flaps sort of stuck out on stalks almost, And then, last but not least, we have the black sprue, on which we've got all our hardware, bombs, wheels, gondola cannons, and here are the actual gun barrels for the actual gondola 37mm cannon. omelettes, little ones, far too little in my opinion. And here's your actual gondola cannons themselves. And they come in two parts, like so. And then over here you've got your bomb cradle. And your exhaust stubs there. And then all your little parts like pitot heads and tail wheel, aerials, etc, etc. And there's another main aerial, sorry, over there. Well, it's all there, isn't it? It's just a little bit odd the way that I'm going to have to knock off a quarter of a... I think I've reviewed this already, shouldn't really be doing this again anyway, really, but I'd give it sort of 9, even though it's time, I'd give it about a 9.5, 9.75, maybe 9.5, you know. The canopy's not the best I've seen, even from Matchbox, but the weird colours, choice colours. Why they didn't go for sort of grey and green, or at least, as I say, split that green a bit more cleverly, so that the top of the wings and the top of the stabilisers in green, and then underneath would be in the blue, and that'd be great, but they didn't seem to do that. Strange things were done sometimes. I think it was all being done against a tight budget and against the clock as well. But at the end of the day, it's still, when you're 8 years old, that is a very... Oops, sorry, I'm stealing David's... I've just realised I'm stealing David's bubble wrap. That belongs to the chopper. Oops! Kleptomania, that was. So, yeah, it's a nice kit, though. And I love the artwork, the feel of it. And I've seen these actually completed, and people have done beautiful jobs of them. So you know, I wouldn't be put off by anything I've seen there. Another masterpiece from Matchbox. 51 years ago, isn't that remarkable? I mean, when you look at the box, it looks like it was kind of done yesterday, really. It's just nice, isn't it? Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely brilliant. So that's another one, another classic. So, let's have a look at a couple of others that perhaps I haven't covered as much in the past. Purple range, so it won't take long. Bear with me, I'll just dig into my secret collection, which is sitting behind me. Let's see if I can pull out a couple. Maybe we haven't gone into so much detail on. Oh, I thought the Warhawk was in here, but we've got this one. We've got the Mustang, the Dooley Bird Mustang, the P51D in UK markings. And what else have we got here? We've got the Curtis Helldive. That's an orange range. I'll look at that one as well. There's a few interesting ones to choose from. Zero we talked about already. Hurricane, Spitfires, we've done those. Yeah, I think we'll just look at those for now. That's probably going to be enough. Let's look at this one. So here we've got one of the very original boxes. I think it'll say 73 on it. It does, 73. So this is the way that Matchbox kits originally came, with a lift top box. Yeah. Lovely artwork. Let's zoom you in so you can have a good look at this. So this is generation 1, so this would be early 1973, 52 years ago now, incredibly. And that's the sort of standard. Now again, look at the condition this is in, it's pretty nice. Apart from the most minor creases, it's mint, really. Absolutely stunning. And on the side, we've got, shows the finished kit in the colours it comes in. Another peculiar combo. What on earth has possessed them to go with like a reddy, well, it's like a reddy brown. It's not actually that colour at all when you get in the box. It's a dark brown. It's not that red chestnut colour that you see there. It's actually that colour, more of a chocolate brown. Or dog dirt brown, as I like to call it. What's this one? It's PK13, so it's one of the first issue. The first series from the first run of 20. And then on the other side, of course, it has... Sorry, I should have zoomed in later. You've got your Hurricane, your Northrop Freedom Fighter, the F5A, your Corsair, F4U4, and the Red Arrows Nat, Fond Nat. Nice little bit of packaging. Yeah, sometimes the interpretation of the colours, as I say, was where they went awry, and sometimes other things went wrong, like saying things are going to be in the kit in the box art that aren't in. So examples like the Mirage 3C, where it showed it with drop tanks which weren't in the kit, and later Roy Huxley had to paint them out on the artwork. And also same with the Buccaneer, where it showed it laden with bombs, low level attack on exercise in Germany, no bombs in the kit at all. Anyway, these things happened. I think that it wasn't the artist's fault. I'm pretty sure they were just given the wrong sort of script of what was going to be involved, really. When they were commissioned to do the art, they were probably told we're going to do this, this and this, and then suddenly they dropped, probably for cost reasons, they dropped it, and then they didn't tell the artist. So here's the ubiquitous Matchbox purple range. So this is the smaller one, as you can tell by the size relative to my hand. Same beautiful quality that we've just seen earlier, but much smaller, and does the job really well. And then out inside we have got, let's get the plastic out first, so just bear with me one moment. Let's not leave the screen blank, must we? Purple, chocolate plastic, we'll come to that. Some blue, baby blue. I'm not sure why it's baby blue, and I'm not sure why it's chocolate brown, really. For a plane that was silver, mainly silver. I mean, maybe a bit of green would have been better. But a beautiful instruction leaflet. Look at this, absolutely classic mint example here. Looks like it was printed yesterday. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So it says on the front, performance details. Maximum speed 437 miles an hour. Not a slow plane, is it? The FW-190s were in trouble when these arrived, that's for sure. It says in January 1940 the British Government Purchasing Commission asked North American Aviation to build under licence an aircraft of another company, but a proposal was made. Aircraft of another company. Is that going to be Spitfires? Or was it the Warhawk? It was Warhawks they wanted originally, wasn't it? But however, an alternative proposal was made by North American to design a completely new aircraft, the Mustang. The first prototype, without engine and with borrowed wheels, was produced in 117 days and flown some 7 weeks later. Early machines entered service with the Royal Air Force in July 1942. It's early, isn't it? And were fitted with the Allison engine. Performance, while excellent at low level, was not suitable for high level fighter operations or bomber escort duty, and the aircraft were used on ground attack missions only. And that's the end. Well, it doesn't explain that they then fitted it with the Merlin engine and all was well, all good, folks, you know. That's strange, isn't it? It doesn't. It's almost like they haven't finished the final paragraph. However, when fitted with the Merlin engine, these became one of the leading fighters of World War II. Doesn't say that, how odd. It's almost like somebody's cut and pasted something and missed a bit off. I've never noticed that before. How interesting. Anyway, don't worry, USA. We know you've got a few problems at the moment, but I won't get into that. But anyway, this we all know the importance of the Mustang. Don't worry. Just that Matchbox seem to have missed that off. So let's have a look at these instructions. Then, typical thing on the back. So this is one of the Generation 1 series. So talking about Matchbox paint, it's a bit of a load of bull, really. And then you've got the Hot Hints guide, telling you about how to paint your small parts, but it doesn't go into detail. It doesn't specifically show you the Mustang. It's just a general guide. So they hadn't quite developed their style, their signature style at that point. But here you go, you've got your pilot and he's going into his seat, bringing in the radio gear behind him and then putting it all in the fuselage. Spinner and the prop. Canopy going on here. Very early to have the canopy on. Danger. I'd leave that till the end if I were you, folks. Don't say I didn't warn you. And the horizontal stabilisers at the back. Your wings coming on here, plus the aerial antenna. Your main gear. Your radiator intake, lip, drop tanks, and then we've got all our gear going on here, radiator lip goes on the front of the radiator, and of course it's got a retracting tail wheel, so that goes in complete with its gear doors at the back, and your exhaust stubs. And that's it, job done. So it's a very early generation kit, this, from Matchbox. Slightly odd in the way that that wording of the history doesn't complete the story, and it shows a P51D with a definitely it's going to have the Merlin engine. So I don't know why they didn't sort of finish the story really. Anyway, tell you what we'll look at first. Look at the decals. How are they looking? They look all right, actually, looking in good condition. It's a nice, lovely kit. This is a really good example. So, Dooley Bird, this is the artwork on the side of the aircraft. And you got your stars and bars. Dooley Bird, of course, is the RAF version. Yeah, stars and bars on that one as well. So, two options, which I forgot to mention, I just realised I never actually got into that. So here's your two options, your RAF version at the top, Dooley Bird, or your 370th Fighter Group. Probably, is that Honington? It might be Honington, I think, or Halesworth in Suffolk. One of them, I'm sure. Because Honington, where I used to live, that used to be a Mustang base. Yeah, doesn't say what year. It says August 45 at Knowlesworth for Dooley Bird. And for the American one, it doesn't say any time at all, but I'm thinking 1944. Okay. So, coming back, let's have a look at our canopy. And I have to tell you, it's actually rather nice, this one. A bit delicate, perhaps. See what you think of this. There we go. Yeah, it's alright, isn't it, for a 72nd scale Mustang canopy? Doesn't look bad at all to me. That looks very nice. Okay, that's that one. Then we've got our chocolate coloured one, which has got the main fuselage on it. Again, the panel lines are a bit trenchy, too big and very shallow, which was the style at the time from Matchbox. Got your drop tanks, gear doors here. Over here we've got the wheels and tyres, and the spinner. Pilot. There we go. That's better. Pilot here. Seat. Main gear legs. Radiator intake. Lip. And there's your polycap for your propeller. Spinner there. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, it's just a bit softly moulded, isn't it? As was the style. But it's okay at the back. Actually got raised panel lines on the rudder. Everything else is recessed. So that's that one. And then next is the baby blue. So this has got the wings on it, and again we've got raised panel line detail on the ailerons and the flaps, and it's recessed underneath. Is it recessed? Is that right? No, it's raised. Not sure I like that, but anyway, a little bit of a mixture here, really. Raised detail, recessed detail, and then you got your propeller there, and your exhaust stubs, obviously. So, it's kind of it really, isn't it? And of course I mentioned the stand already. Decals are in good shape though, so you can always use decals, no problem at all. Nice kit though. What's nice about this one for me is just the condition it's in is absolutely A1, tip top. It looks like it was manufactured yesterday, that kit, to be honest, which is nice. Really nice. I'm just trying to decide where to put my, put it in the bottom, keep it flat. And put the clear parts on the top, like so. Super kit, and I just love the way it's got the lift top box, which just drops back on again. Mint example, very nice. And then I said, we'll have a look at the Curtis Helldive. I think that's probably going to be it for this video, because keep your suspense and show you some bigger ones later, perhaps. So the Helldiver, of course, this is definitely a Roy Huxley artwork this time. I think, pretty sure it is. think it was in his book. Was it a good post? Sometimes they don't actually have the signature on. I think this is Roy. So I hope I don't get that wrong. Anyway, so you can see it's beautiful, beautiful artwork, and this is a helldiver from the Bunker Hill attacking the Japanese base at Rabaul, and that's in November 1943 when the Pacific War is in full swing. I was just watching. Some of you may have seen this actually. The Operations Room, another YouTube channel. It's very good and tells. It's like in animations. It tells historical battles, etc. And they were talking about the end of the battleship Yamato. Get it right. The Yamato, the biggest battleship ever. They had this really cool graphic, a new one, which was different, where it showed these helldivers coming in and then nosing over and diving on it. And they had this graphic. It repeated this action, and it was really good, quite realistic. You know. And of course, it was helldivers that did for it, basically, to be honest. I think Avengers as well. That Avengers dropped torpedoes, and these guys bombed it from above and took a hell of a plastering, and then. When its magazine went up, they say it could be seen 75-100 miles away plus. Such a huge explosion, there was a big mushroom cloud. Anyway, I'm digressing. On the side we've got the rather attractive Walrus bow fighter, which I built. And of course the A-7D Corsair jet fighter bomber, which I have built, and many of you have seen that I built it without painting it. Speaking of which, this is what your helldiver is going to look like if you don't paint it. Far more sensible colours on this one, I think. Sort of a navy grey and sort of dark blue. So why don't we have a look inside, see what you think of this one. Honestly, any March, it's like somebody said, oh, you've got to do something for Matchbox March, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, but it's no chore. Once I get started, I don't know when to stop really. Oops. Is that it? Okay, this box is not quite as mint. It's got a little crease in the side. It's not bad. Oh, these decals are not as mint either. They're all curled up. Let's have a look at this. What have we got here? Oopsie poopsie. These have seen better days, I think. They may still work though. It doesn't mean that just because they've been curled. But they have been, probably been in better condition. I suspect this has been in heat somewhere. It's like a kind of glassine paper that they use, and it's not great, I can't be honest. Right, so what have we got here? We've got a slightly iffy print. Looks like someone's been done on the photocopier. So what year have we got this in? It is a kit from 1973, so it is an early generation. So this is actually one of the first of the orange range to come out, I think. What number is it? PK 104, so kit number 4 in the orange range. So it says here, zoom you back for this, a little bit of history is provided for us. And it says, it's quite faint writing. In 1938, the US Bureau of Aeronautics prepared requirements for a new scout-dive bomber. Included in the specification were a new radial engine, folding wings and retractable undercarriage. Curtis and Brewster submitted designs for the S-82C-1, which was ordered on May 1938, subject to the usual static tests and flight demonstrations. Almost at once the design was found to be excessively heavy, and this was a major difficulty throughout its development. After a prototype broke up in the air, serious doubts were expressed as to its future. Gosh. Poor guys, I can't believe they survived. However, after an intense program of troubleshooting and modifications, the later versions overcame most of the development troubles and saw considerable service, becoming a successful combat machine. Well, it sunk the Yamato in 1945, so there you go. Now here you've got the more typical... What speed did it do? Doesn't say what speed it does. kind of tells its own story, that, doesn't it? Omitted for good reason, I think, because it wasn't very fast. I think you're probably talking about 240 miles an hour, probably not much more than that, 250 maybe. That's a guess. Anyway, here's your small parts guide, painted up like your bombs and your arrestor hook, your pilot, and all of your propeller, tail wheel, gun, rear gun, exhausts, etc. And then inside, so it isn't very well printed, this one. It's a bit faint. Inside, I'm not sure the orange helps here. So you've got your pilot going in, and then your pilot and gun have been dropped in, complete with your arrestor hook at the back. And you are going to build up your folding wings. This will be quite cool. It actually has folding wings, which will actually fold and unfold. Then you've got your engine. Was it the Wasp engine? I can't remember. Pratt and Whitney, was it? I think it was. Building up that and the cowling. Then you're going to put all that together onto the fuselage, complete with the gunner's gun, the magazine, and your glasshouse canopy cockpit going on the top. Horizontal stabilizers, and then over here all the completions with your antenna and your gear coming in here, drop tank, spare fuel tanks on either wing, and you've got bombs. So it's carries bombs in a bomb bay, which you don't see, but it has the option, as you can see, of having them on a pylon on the wing as well. So there's a couple of different options there. Plus it has a bomb, so it has a bomb and cradle. There's a bomb bay door. I'll show you on the artwork, it's probably easy to explain. There's a bomb bay door opens, as you can see, and a cradle hurls the bomb out, and then it shuts the door again. It's probably why it's heavy though, because it's a lot of stuff there, isn't there? Bomb bay doors and things. You're adding weight, aren't you? Anyway, then here you've got your retracting gear. And that's kind of it there. So let us have a look at the plastic. So first of all, we've got the glasshouse canopy. This appears to be part 7, is that? Let's have a look. Seems quite good, really. For something that's rather complicated in terms of moulding and all that framework. Yes, that's quite nice. Nothing wrong with that. Then we have got our main fuselage. It's quite a stubby sort of aircraft, isn't it, really? It's almost like a Brewster Buffalo on steroids, really. And you can see the big cutouts there for the hinges for the wing, the folding, retracting wing. And there's your underside of your wing there as well. Again, we've got a mixture here. We've got recessed detail here and raised panel lines here. I'm not sure is right. Should be recessed, really. I guess it's just down to the limitations of the moulding technology of the day, really, some of this. Yeah, they probably couldn't manage to do it all recessed because of the tooling cost or something. Then we have our... oh dear, we've got a piece off the sprue here. Then we've got our lovely, very nice, almost Bugatti baby blue plastic. And you've got your cowl here. Let's get a bit closer. Cowling. And you've got your pilots. And again, we've got some raised panel detail here, which I'm not too sure I like. That's all raised. The covers for the wheels. Got our wing, complete with a great big hinges. Quite heavy duty, aren't they? Those? Wow. Same on this side. And you got your wheels and your spinner. I do like that colour though, I think they're nice. That's a really good colour. Perhaps a bit light if anything. And then we've got our ubiquitous Matchbox stand again. And then I'm afraid we have a part off the sprue here. It's only just come off, I think, as well. So again, they've secured it right at the centre, so there's no harm done. It's just oh, we've got another part off the sprue, and that's part of the cup for the stand. Here we go. So yes, all in like a silvery grey, which is quite nice actually. See, I don't know why they didn't do that Mustang we saw earlier. I don't know why they didn't do that in this colour. That would have made a lot more sense, wouldn't it? Strange. If they had this in 1973, they could have done it, surely. Same year. Anyway, there's your bombs that are optional for the wing on a pylon. And then the pylons are here, very tiny actually. You can just see those. And your main gear legs. And that is it really. So there's you obviously got this seat for the pilot, rather rudimentary looking seat. But for 1973, rather a nice kit, to be fair. Rather a nice kit. Yeah, it's a shame that the props come off, but actually I could actually glue that back on because it wouldn't cause any detriment to the... It's in an area that's not a visible one anyway. So, say, slight bashing on the box on this one, and a slight misprinting or poor printing on the on the instructions. Apart from that, pretty nice kit. Pretty nice kit. Perhaps a little bit clumsy in places. By modern standards, though, there's no point in judging it by modern standards because it was created 52 years ago, you know. And that has always got to be factored in, really. You can't escape that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to protect the clear parts a little bit. At the bottom. There we go. So that is your Curtis Helldiver. And on the back you've got two options here. So you've got USS Bunker Hill, as per the Battle of Rabaul that you saw. Or the USS Yorktown. Yorktown, of course, sunk, didn't it? I'm right in saying that, aren't I? I think that ended up at the bottom, didn't it, in Yorktown out before the end of the war. Was it Midway that it got sunk at? I can't remember, my memory's stretched. You guys, you American experts will know all about this. But yeah, I think Yorktown came a cropper. But what a nice kit! What a nice kit. Can't fault that really, just one or two things about the way it's been produced, and it's strange the printing wasn't as good as normal. Some very nice kits there, some very nice kits. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. I think we'll just call a halt, and I'll come back and do a few more later. Before the end of the month, we'll have perhaps another couple of shows like this. Just, you know, going through some of what we've got. I mean, if I just show you here, I've got one of my boxes. Just give you an idea of what we have here. In which I have got, I can show it. If I can get the cardboard to behave itself. In which I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Spitfires. I've got 6 Hurricanes, 3 FW-190s. There's 2 Mustangs, 3 Corsairs, a Zero, a Cobra, and we've got the... It's not the Helldiver. Yeah, I've got a later Helldiver that's still shrink wrapped, and there's a Curtis. What's that? That's the one that's got bits missing. Quite a good selection. That's just some of the aircraft in the purple range. Some of that's about a third of my purple range, probably. So it gives you an idea of what I've got. Any of those you'd like me to show again? Shout up. Yeah, I'll have another go and perhaps do some requests. All here to serve you to make it pleasurable to watch, really, at the end of the day. So there we have it. Quite a few rather nice examples of some classic Matchbox, including that Cobra, sorry, the Aeroscout, I mean, helicopter, which I haven't seen before. Always a pleasure to go through them, though, you know. And yeah, it is difficult not to say, oh, I don't like the raised panel lines and some of the trenchiness of the panel lines, but again, this was more than 50 years ago, half a century ago, and they did it really well for the time. When you want to put them together, they go together really well. You don't end up with massive gaps, and the seams, you might have an odd seam, they're tiny normally. They just go together well. For the money, you know, for what they cost, and for the target audience, they're absolutely perfect, I've got to be honest. So there we go. So I give the Curtis Helldiver, I'm giving 9.5, 9.25, I think, out of 10 on that one. I hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 and give us a thumbs up. Thanks very much for watching, and if you'd like to see a bit more Matchbox March, if you've got any particular kits you'd like me to have a look at again, don't hesitate to shout up and I'll try and accommodate that as best I can. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the improved sunshine if you're up in the Northern Europe and or in the UK as I am. The weather has improved quite a bit. Though I think we're expecting a bit of a cold blast coming. Anyway, we'll see how we get on. But it's almost tempting to say, people keep saying to me, how's the mosquito? They see the mosquito thing in the background and say, how's that mosquito coming along? Ooh, I've been busy with a lot of other things. I've been cycling and I've been out walking in the nice sunshine. Is modelling season over? Ooh, don't shout, don't start shouting at me. No, I'm going to carry on. I have got the seat belts, which was putting me off on the mosquito, done. So what I'll do now, I'm going to try and I'm going to have a few days where I'll put some work in. And we are expecting worse weather later this week, so I will use that to my good effect. I'll get some of those little jobs done on that mosquito, and I'll do you an update video very soon. Stay tuned. Anyway, in the meantime, till next time, thanks very much for watching. Can't get my words out. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed seeing some of the old Matchbox kits. And remember, don't you build them, especially if they're in a Mark 1 box like this. You'll go straight to hell. You'll burn there forever. So behave yourselves. If it's a later one or a Revelry boxing or one of the Chinese ones, that's fine. Carry on. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Take care, look after yourselves. Thanks a lot. And bye for now.